Oke, kita tunggu dalam 2 minit. I heard there's more to come, so we just wait 1 or 2 minutes before we start.
Okay, doctor.
Okay, I think we should start now. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning and Salam Ramadan to all Muslims. Okay, so today is our 6 or 7 days, I lost count already. Okay, so I hope that everybody is still energetic to go through this interesting journal club, I suppose. Okay, so let me introduce you Dr. Xiao Ching Sin, or Dr. Samantha, or I call her Dr. Sam. Okay, so Dr. Sam is our ReaCH member, okay, as a senior lecturer. Okay, as you can see on the advertisement, so she published 25 articles in high impact journal in the year of 2022. So it is considered the highest number, I think, Dr. Sam. Okay, so therefore, I think she is the right person to come today to talk about journey to journal publication. So I hope that with this sharing, so it's going to benefit the member of ReaCH and also the member of the faculty in order to increase the number of applications, perhaps to share with the member also in terms of tips for publication or to publish in high impact journal, and how to deal with bad news related to journal rejection. Okay, so I think we all do go through this process. Okay, so with that, so I would pass it to you, Dr. Sam. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahathir, for a very warm introduction. A very good afternoon to everybody. A very good afternoon to Dr. Nick, sebagai pengurusi ReaCH, all my dear and beloved professors, doctors, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan ya, yang saya hormati, and also to all my colleagues and students who are here. So actually I am feeling so honored because I've been given the chance to share about the journey to journal publication. So thank you so much for this chance, and special thanks to Dr. Mahathir for the nice title that we were brainstorming. Yeah, what is the title that is suitable for this talk? For this talk. And so so that is the title. All right, and I felt it was really suitable because it is a journey, and not just a journey, but a personal journey as well. All right, please allow me to share my screen now. Okay, all right. So the title of the talk today is A Journey in Journal Publication. So what is this journey like? I thought I like this picture a lot because it's going up and down. Okay, it's not a straight road, and yet it is still going forward. Yeah, and I think going forward is one of the most important part of our journey. All right, so this is the content of what I like to share. Journey in publication as a student, as a just graduated researcher, and embarking from early to mid-career. So I am very much aware that, among my audience, we come from very different backgrounds. Yeah. And I know some of us, some of my colleagues, you spend a lot of time in your labs and also in clinics. Yeah. Nurturing the next batch of very capable clinicians. And I have, colleagues who have just marked maybe 400, 400 scripts, examination scripts, and who have also invested, a lot of their time in entrepreneurship, who are great business leaders. So when I am speaking, and also we have professors whom I admire and whom I respect, based on your years of experience and also your guidance as well. So I'm thinking that to such a wonderful crowd, of giants, each of you in your own field, I feel that all I can share is my own experience. Okay, and maybe through my trials and my errors, maybe we can all learn from it as well. All right. So this is my journey so far, and perhaps to describe a little bit, I started publishing in index journals in 2017, and as a PhD student. And then when I was in 2020, I was accepted as a lecturer in UKM, in December. And it has been 2 years, about 2 years in UKM. And it has been a wonderful experience. And when I was sourcing for this chart, and when I looked at it, the first question is not like, oh, what have I done? Okay, it's like, what happened? Okay, what had happened in these few years that allowed for a publication, of a certain number of journals, and also thankfully high impact journals as well. So looking at the year last year, 2022, it was really a very year for which I'm very grateful for, because based on the Scopus, there are 32 publications, and I registered 25, in which, according to UKM's definition as the first and corresponding author, first meaning maybe I'm the only author from UKM who is involved in this publication. So out of the 32, I did an analysis. We have Q1, Q2, 14 of them, Q3, 2, and Q4, 7. Scopus and ESCI, there are 8, and one erratum, which does not count. Okay, but I have an interesting story from this erratum. Okay, this erratum was actually provided by a researcher from the Middle East, in which we have covered their country in our multi-country analysis. And he wasn't very happy because I represented we represented the data from his country wrongly, and I was feeling very bad. So, we had a discussion with the research team, and we said, we have to come up with an erratum. Yeah. So after we came up with the erratum, I was invited, to write a book chapter with him in the Springer, on the suicide in Malaysia. Yeah, so so that was the interesting story. I think the things that I learned about research is it is never a straight road. There are twists and turns, and there is so much opportunity to learn from them. Yeah, so this is my journey so far. But I am sharing this slide, yeah, to say that it is really not my effort. Okay, it is really the effort of a team of very dedicated researchers who are passionate, yeah, about their research. And I highlighted in yellow, okay, the suicide research, of which I really hope to focus on as a suicide researcher. Is because this is one of the first research, yeah, that I did in my PhD and which I continue doing. Yeah, suicide in Malaysia and associated factors can include trauma, self-esteem, and so on. Okay, and finally, the WHO data on suicide was the brainchild of one of my collaborators, yeah, who came up with the Suicide in China project as well. And apart from that, we have studies on e-cigarette, okay, CKD caregivers, adolescent and caregiver mental health, COVID-19 studies, which actually took up a very large part of the publications in the past few years. Yeah, and we have a few groups working at it, and also different other studies for which I'm very grateful. Now, the last column of the study seems to be the smallest, but it is one of the most important contributors. So from these collaborations on student projects, we published about 9 papers, yeah, including one Q1 from a student paper and undergraduate student paper. Yeah, maybe I can tell more about the story of that paper as we go on. So there are collaborations which I'm honored to be a part of, but for which I'm one of the contributors. Yeah. So I'm going to start by sharing about my journey to publication as a student. Okay, motivation, of course, is to graduate. That is the first factor. Okay, we have to publish, right, in order to graduate. But my supervisor, Prof. V, has maybe she can see that there is more ability, perhaps, or she has a lot of ability, yeah, as well. And my group of co-supervisors, Dr. Yati and Dr. Suzaili, and a number of my lecturers who have now become my colleagues, yeah, who have also contributed greatly at that time. Even though the motivation was to graduate, it was also to test my ability in writing, data analysis, journal selection, and actually just to obtain the experience. So if any of you are still studying, don't be too stressed out, okay? Because these are really learning experience. They are foundations to what we can do later. Yeah, and the method, okay. The research that we worked on, myself and Prof, it was actually something we worked from scratch. We call it investigator initiated research from our meeting in the Clinical Research Center. Yeah, I think that was in year 2014. Yeah, so based on our own data collected, we collected and analyzed it. I'm saying this because I think some of our students nowadays, when they come in, they have like ready-made proposals. So I just as an encouragement that yes, it is possible to start a research idea, and with guidance from all the supervisors, we could come up with good studies. Okay, so at that time we had a grant, okay, but at the same time we were able to publish in mostly free journals, specialty journals in suicide and in healthcare worker education, and also inverse triangle. Yeah, I learned this from Dr. Karen, that we were trying from the higher impact journals to the lower impact journals. We made an assessment of where we think this journal stands, and we aim a little bit higher, okay, because we still had time. But I remember one of my, for my second paper to graduate, I just published in a Scopus special issue because no more time. Yeah, so in that case, yeah, this was how we chose our journals at that time. And what I learned, Okay. First of all, as a student, as a researcher, I did paper writing. Yeah, it's all written by us. And from beginning until the end, the analysis and so on. So one of the first things that I learned as a researcher was how to angle your paper. Yeah. And at that time, I put like, I forgot, all the analysis, okay, into one paper. This is my quantitative data, let us publish this. And my supervisor was saying, Sam, yeah, very gently, what is the angle of your paper? Yeah, for each paper, it's not a thesis, and we publish each paper based on a main theme. Yeah, and the second one is go oomph or not. Okay, I still remember that term. Ada oomph ke tak? All right. So what that means, I think, is whether that paper is relevant. Yeah, is that paper something that when people read it, they will think they have not wasted their time? Yeah, and they feel that it has actually contributed to the knowledge. All right, and finally, from the reviewers, yeah, they will point out, okay, they are very sharp. They will say, maybe you have overstated your case, yeah, in the discussion, for example. This is your results, and your discussion must be based on the results. Yeah, so allowing the facts, yeah, to speak for themselves is something that was important. Yeah, so this was what I learned as a student. And when I was sourcing the journals, okay, it's important to read the aims and the scope. Yeah, and like I was saying, yeah, maybe because we still had time, maybe for the first few papers, to aim a bit higher, yeah, in terms of quartile. And there's a funny story that I like to tell, yeah, in terms of the aim and scope of this study. Now I work a lot with student collaborators, yeah, and sometimes my collaborator will say, this one is seems like a good outlet, yeah, for our journal. Yeah, the paper, let's say, was on romantic breakup, okay, perceptions among Pakistani students. Okay, and the collaborator found a journal called Journal of Romance Studies. Yeah, so it was sent there and immediately rejected. And the response, when I read it, okay, from the editor, I felt like, oh no, this is really basic. Yeah, how come I didn't go and check? Okay, actually, it was not about romance. It was about the romance languages. Yeah, anything that comes from Rome, from Latin, like French, they are called the Romance languages. So it was funny, but at the same time, it was basic, yeah, to check the journal aims and scope. And then something that I learned, okay, we had tough reviewers. Okay, when the reviewers' comment came back, we really gave it all we had. All right, of course, we have the option when we are addressing reviewer feedbacks to withdraw. Okay, when we look at it, really cannot. Okay, then humbly we will seek to withdraw the paper. But actually, sometimes you never know until you try. Okay, and sometimes if you really give it all you have, the reviewer may feel like, okay, these are serious researchers and they take my views very seriously. Let me, try to tweak their paper a bit more, and maybe it is ready for publication. So we have major revision, then minor revision, and hopefully minor revision and acceptance. Okay, so so this was what I learned. Okay, give it all. Yeah, when you have the reviewers' comments. And finally, like what Dr. Mahathir said, okay, very painful. Yeah, rejection. I remember as a student, I really wanted to publish in this journal. It's a Q2 called Death Studies. Yeah, because we are in the field of suicide, our journals have names like Death Studies, Death and Dying, okay, suicide behavior, and so on. So after 1 year of review, after doing 2 major revisions, it was rejected. Not easy, yeah. And I was so glad I was surrounded by very understanding lecturers, supervisors who texted me and say, don't worry, it is very normal. It happens. You know, I know you're sad. Yeah, you can be sad for a few couple, maybe 1 week. Okay, after that, come back. Yeah, look at the reviewers' feedback. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Maybe we can actually even make this a better paper. Yeah, so this paper that was rejected turned out to be the last paper that I published in my PhD journey. Until today, it is still not indexed. It's still not indexed in the journal. No volume, no page number, just accepted for publication. Is the Q2 journal, Omega Journal of Death and Dying. So this is the journey of publication that I learned as a student, and some achievements that I'm really thankful for. One of the things I'm really honored about is that I was invited to join my lecturer's research team. And what that means was actually to see myself no longer as a student, but as a real researcher. Okay, but a new researcher who is learning new things. Yeah. And number two, I was so glad that in my in my years as not undergrad, but in my PhD years, yeah, we published in some specialty journals and free journals. Specialty meaning people from that discipline and from that field will be able to read what you have published in. Yeah, and finally, it was an eye-opening experience. Yeah, why? Because I saw my supervisors and my now colleagues, my lecturers, publishing in high-impact journals. In the past, I thought I can just cite from them. Yeah, and to think that I could also publish, yeah, in those journals and get cited as well, that was very encouraging and gave me a lot of encouragement. Okay, so I graduated in 2018. Okay, okay, wait, maybe how to hide this? It's okay. So I graduated in 2018, and I titled this part as a journey to publication as a bracket middle age, just graduated researcher. Okay, I have already worked by that time in a private institution for long term. Yeah, and then I was doing teaching and some administrative work and also curriculum development, all that stuff. Okay, before I graduated to become a researcher. And after that, I assisted, yeah, with my lecturers' studies and so on. And finally, I got a job in another private university. Okay, and as a just graduated researcher, I felt that it was the best and the worst of times. Okay, let us not talk about the worst part. Okay, but talk about the best part. Okay, so my motivation actually was to start being recognized in the field. Yeah, in the field of suicide studies, and also just being a researcher in general. And number two, to establish and to get into research collaboration groups. Now, I already have this bonus. Okay, I was already in the collaboration groups with my supervisors. And at the same time, maybe I can elaborate more later how, I also got more into the research field that I was interested in, which was suicide. Okay, and also to learn from mentors and peers. Now, in private university, the first thing is to make ends meet. All right, we didn't have people who sponsored. Okay, didn't have endowments. Okay, maybe we had, yeah, but I was not involved. And basically, how much we have, yeah, for funding for research is actually based on our income. So teaching hours were high. Okay, time spent with students, the number of students we had was a lot as well. Okay, so at that time, when did I find time to do research, and why did I continue to do research? Yeah, I think it was out of desperation. Yeah, so the methods, okay, that I learned during that time, yeah, as a fledgling researcher, was actually from the more senior researchers, okay, from my public university background, and also from the private university itself. Yeah, during that time, we had a really wonderful research director, and also our DVCA, yeah, who was from and she is a professor emeritus there. So we were taught, yeah, how do we build networks? Because networks was really important. Yeah, like I was showing you the network of researchers in which I was involved with. Okay, how do we get into their circle? How do we even build our own center and invite other people to come in? Yeah, so our university actually gave us mini grants up to just 20K. Yeah, it's okay. It's still a lot of money. Yeah, okay, grants. And we had ideas from ourselves. Okay, even ideas from our students. Yeah, and you should also present in conferences. Okay, so through that, okay, we were given mini grants. I was able to invite, okay, different people to join my studies. If one of my students was very bright, I will say, would you like to come and join me in this study? Yeah, I believe that, something good can come out of it, and we can actually, work on this together. Yeah, and also to present in conferences. I write that in a bracket because I'm really bad at it. Yeah, I'm so sorry. If I know some of my colleagues, yeah, who win prizes, if you could share with us how you do it, that would be so much appreciated. But this is really something that I'm still learning about. Okay, so the second one was, I say die, forgive my language, okay, get the FRGS grant. And this was inculcated in us as well, not just in UKM, but also in the private university as well. Okay, because that is really the passport from us, for us to get to just graduated researcher to become a more established researcher. It doesn't mean that if you're established, you cannot get that grant. It's always a chance, okay? But for a young researcher at that time, it was really a good chance. So I was mentored by, by actually a geneticist, okay, who took pity, all right, on the on myself actually, especially because at that time, a lot of us from the social science background, including psychology, we didn't really know how to, pitch ourselves to get a grant. Okay, so we attended all the Bangkok, yeah, all the workshops, take the notes, what is your angle? What is the nation's need? Yeah, we thought maybe adolescent mental health. Yeah, and who are your collaborators? Yeah, my mentor actually sat down with me and say, okay, why don't you think about, involving these people? How about those people? Okay, so that was actually an eye-opener for me. We invited our previous collaborator in suicide from a government agency. We invited an external professor who was the expert in that field, and so glad that she could join that grant. We also had somebody else, different people, yeah, who were able to give strength to that grant. Okay, within that field of mental health, especially adolescents. And not only that, through this grant, we were able to invite adolescent mental health, right? We were able to invite different child and adolescent mental health psychiatrists and psychologists to join our study from different hospitals. Yeah, and until today, we maintain that network in order to advance our studies to the next stage. The next one is no secret. It's just to perform. Okay, when I was still in my previous institution, our DVCA, yeah, introduced me and my friends to a very high-profile professor from as well. Okay, and at that time, we didn't have we really didn't have much exposure to international studies. And this was what opened us to a lot of international opportunities in which we could do multinational, multi-country data. Okay, and the conference thing was very important. Yeah, one of my colleagues, okay, she went to a conference and she met with an American researcher who also wrote us into another international multi-country study. And with that, we invited the professor who also invited us to her studies. Yeah, so so in that case, okay, when I was working in these groups, okay, I thought it was good, okay, to work and to volunteer to work, and when I contribute respectfully, because really at this juncture, who am I? Okay, what do I have to offer, right? I didn't even have a H index. Yeah, okay, it was, I think, 3. Okay, so that was what I learned. And when they liked working with you, maybe they will invite you for other studies as well. Yeah, so the next one is to work with a statistician. Yeah, I learned that from my supervisor. Please sit down with statistician and learn from them. Yeah, get training in data analysis. And I'm really, really grateful for the statisticians with whom I work with. I feel like they are the foundation of the study. Okay, and with a statistician in the team, I feel that I don't feel so scared that I will get things wrong. Okay, the current statistician whom I'm working with is actually my ex-boss from my previous place of work. Okay, and the beauty of working with her is that she doesn't just do the statistical analysis and give it back to you. Okay, because I told her also that I want to learn. Yeah, so let's say we are doing it with dealing with a multinational data, and I ask oh dear, okay, seems like we have to do weighting. Okay, so she will send me articles and tips, how to do weighting. Okay, and then I will do it and I will show her, and she will say, okay, this is right. Okay, let us proceed. Okay, or maybe I was thinking of doing a new analysis like item response theory. I didn't know anything. Okay, and I asked, okay, statistical analysis, and our statistician wasn't clear either, but she said, let us work together on this. Okay, and I had so much confidence, yeah, when that happens. Yeah, so next one is accept invitations to review papers. Yeah, this is something that I learned from my colleague as well. Okay, that number one, when we review papers, we know what is happening. Okay, the cutting edge of the studies of what is being done. Number two, we learn to hone our critical acumen as well. How do you actually, make it a better paper? Yeah, and as a reviewer, we are peers. Okay. So, and number three, you might remain in the good books of the editor, okay, who might then, okay, involve you in other things as well. But that has not happened to me lah, okay. So I accepted 29 invitations last year to review papers. I hope not all are like, review from, beginning until the end. Some of them are, major revisions, some of them are minor revisions, some of them rejection so very fast, and some of them are, just accept. Okay, so I was checking, there were 29 times I accepted, but the real review that was done was maybe just half of them or less than that. Okay, so I really learned a lot. And finally, to join my association, for example, I was asking for advice, yeah, from a suicide researcher, and she asked, "Oh, are you in this association?" I said, "No, I'm introvert lah." No, actually, I was told that the association is very important. In research, don't worry, most of us are introverts. Okay, it's whether you join or you don't join. Yeah, so this is something new to me. I'm still learning, okay, to join the association that is pertaining to our field of study. Okay. And during that time, I say it was the best and the worst times because there were so many opportunities, but there was also so much work. But thankfully, you know, I was able to work on top of the work. I don't think I can still do that now. Okay, and the results are just showing now. Okay, 2020, the results show in 2022, that is very normal. And then gaining confidence in working with groups. Yeah, we were working with a multinational study. Yeah, and the PI in Malaysia managed to get the data set and say, we will be the first group, okay, to work on this data. And I volunteered to do the analysis, not because I'm good, but because I work with a statistician. Yeah, it was a great time to learn. It was not straightforward. We did mistakes, but we corrected them. And also at the same time, I learned a lot in terms of having the confidence, yeah, to work in groups. So Malaysia, our gang was the first to publish the multinational data, 2 papers from Malaysia, maybe 2 papers from Thailand. Yeah. And then finally, there were long-term and short-term investments. What I said was like, I worked in 2020, right? And then maybe the results came out in 2022, 2023, 2024. There are definitely more long-term than short-term investments. Okay, so I'm really thankful for our wonderful mentors, yeah, trusty collaborators, people who actually chip in, okay, to give you the comments, to tell you what is right and what is wrong, and then you learn from them. Yeah, I'd rather that somebody tell me what is wrong with the paper than remain quiet. Okay, maybe just to share a very recent paper, yeah, that unfortunately we were closing a grant in another institution. We had to come up with it rather quickly. Yeah, and wow, the comments were a lot. Okay, in the end, we decided we may have to reanalyze this paper, rewrite the paper, and it was very humbling. But my goodness, I think that was a very good learning experience. Okay, to know that there are always, yeah, better ways to treat the data, better ways to present your study. And I really look forward to that paper. Yeah, and not to forget brilliant students. Yeah, for this undergraduate's paper that was published as Q1, actually there was an element of luck or blessing in it as well. Okay, so what happened was, during my time with the previous institution, my student came and conceptualized the idea. We firmed up the idea, and then she collected the data, and then we roped in another student, okay, who continued with the data collection, and now he's in another institution, yeah, and he learned some very SEM analysis, and he analyzed the data, yeah. Based on that, we thought, let's send to this journal. It was rejected, Q2. And then my collaborator said, why not we send to this journal, Q1? I said, okay, let's give it a try. We don't lose anything. And wonderful. It was wonderful because the reviewers were favorable. Okay, we were, so to say, lucky because one reviewer gave very short review. Another reviewer, though, gave us a very tough decision to make. We had to remove one of the variables which he felt was not grounded, okay, based on the conceptualization of the study. Now, we had to make a decision. Shall we remove that component and do the data analysis? Not even that. When we change the paper too much, we may have to resubmit it, right? We may be rejected because it really doesn't jive with the original intention of the paper. We had a meeting. My student who did the analysis was fine with it. Okay, so we bite the bullet. We removed that variable. We resubmitted, and very thankful it was accepted. Yeah, so that was the journey of one paper. Okay, that really I remembered. And then, of course, I'm really grateful for getting the FRGS grant on adolescent mental health. and from which, we were able to rope in more students, okay, who were able to work on it. But unfortunately, I had to, let go because I changed my institution, right? Okay, and finally, yeah, okay, I joined UKM. All right. So just graduated researcher. That was the journey. And then, after 1 or 2 years in UKM, I think maybe, this is my journey in the future and what are my thoughts about it. Okay, so very quickly, I realized that the motivation must come from internal, to work for the right reason. Okay, and how to keep everything afloat. Maybe I overcommitted myself. Yeah, but I really do want to see these projects until the end. Yeah, so working for the right reasons. So what are some of the methods that I thought would be important to establish current research areas? Maybe I could do with two. Research areas that are my core. So that requires some pruning, deepening, reading the continuing, to read the latest literature. I really hope to write a review paper one day. Is my personal goal. To get involved in book chapters. So glad that there was another book chapter that we were invited to write. Okay, and finally, this is what I learned from my supervisor who published many books. A book is really something that establishes you as one of the experts in the field. And book chapter is really good as well. Okay, because when you are writing a book chapter, you are supposed to be the expert in that field as well. And usually the experts get to cite our own studies. That's why when we go to Scopus, you want to check our H index, there's one part where we can choose exclude book chapters, exclude book and book chapters, because I think there's some self-citation there. But no choice what, okay, since it is about, let's say, suicide in Malaysia. Most of the publication come from this group of people who write this chapter. So next one, to learn and test out new methods and areas in research. This one I'm really passionate about, because there are, even in suicide studies, there are new areas. Okay, how do we do ecological momentary analysis? Okay, or even new areas such as how do we combine different disciplines, in the area of suicide prevention, for example. And of course, new methods include like machine learning and so on. And then number two, get involved in editorial work. This one I really want to learn. If anybody can teach us, that will be great. Okay, and next one is, as our publications go up, as there are more papers to handle, it is still so important to be careful. The data, is it good data? Do you want to retract this paper? Okay, is it something that is worth publishing, and so on and so forth. So and also to keep myself humble. Okay, because anything can happen in the research world, as we know from the recent MDPI incident. Okay, where iJERP from Q1 become lost their listing, in Clarivate, and the cutoff point I think was in January 2023. So any articles that were published before that will be listed in the WAS, but articles after that, like mine, which was published in on February 10th, okay, won't be listed. Okay, so Q1 to Scopus, first time in our lives, okay, happens, right? To keep humble, okay, and finally, also to pace myself, for more quality work. So so maybe the last bit, okay, very quickly, these are the things that I felt that what can we learn? Maybe as I embark from early to mid-career research, what does it mean to be an established researcher in my field? I'd like to talk to different people. What does it mean? Okay, to be referred, and to be cited, and so on. Okay, and how does research have impact on the lives of those who are studied? Yeah, there is always a trail of guilt, yeah, in our scramble to publish. Sometimes we forget those are people, yeah, whom we studied. Okay, how do we make sure that the impact on their lives is there? That is why I respect clinicians. Yeah, I respect lecturers who train their students to be more compassionate, to be deliverers of good service, yeah, to their students. And then one of our papers was rejected. Yeah, they say this multiple linear logistic regression, not enough. Okay, so we had to, look at other ways, yeah, of processing our data, perhaps using SAM, PLS, even machine learning. Okay, even mediation analysis. Okay, I would really have loved to attend Dr. Sumaya's training the other day, but had another commitment. Okay, but I really love to learn, yeah, from all the statisticians and all the lecturers in UKM, in ReaCH, how to do different kinds of analysis. Yeah, because I think, especially in quantitative studies, I think those are the foundations of a good quality paper. Yeah, the foundation is the data, and then the analysis, and then, and of course, before that is our hypothesis and so on. Yeah, so item response theory may be useful when we are analyzing and validating data for, let's say, something that is right or wrong. Okay, and so on. So these are places where I really hope to learn more. Okay, and then how to deepen my skills in other areas to increase my credibility, believability as a researcher. And finally, maybe 4 years, a few years ahead, how to get an international grant as well. Yeah, some blessings I'm very grateful for is the same thing as the last stage. Yeah, continues to be my mentors, collaborators, students, and the ecosystem, yeah, that I am in that enables these publications to happen. Okay, so that's all I'd like to share. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Mahathir.
Thank you so much, Sam. Okay, it's a very good sharing indeed. Okay, so actually I have also learned something from the sharing session, Sam, which is, oh my God, my camera is working. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Mahathir.
Yeah, I managed to capture a few notes from you. Which is, this point is actually emphasized on the work of the students, whether it's an undergraduate or postgraduate student, there is a potential to be polished and published in C1 journal, which is quite impressive to me, because sometimes we tend to underestimate the work of our own students, especially for FYP, the final year project, which there is some potential for us to kind of like publish it in high impact journal. And then you also did emphasize on how to angle our paper, okay, try to find the main theme and also yeah, which is not only in the theme, okay, but also in our paper, and always have to aim high, okay. And I also glad to see the determinations and also your passion for work that you have invested. Okay. And I don't think that the age and experience of working is a factor, okay, in order to become a prolific academician and researchers. Yeah. So now I think we can open for the question and answer session. But it is open to the floor if you have any question. You can just ask the question or may type it in the chat box. Anybody? So,
hi, Dr. Sharifah
Hi.
here. Actually, it's very encouraging. I'm currently a student doing my postgrad study. And as what you mentioned earlier, the motivation to graduate is the main thing of doing for the moment. Because I have difficulty, because this is definitely my first experience doing this, dealing with the international platform, what we call journal, which they actually have a different system of submission, you know. So how to say, as the MDPI incident recently, so we have prepared, I was like a button click away only from the submission. And the next day I heard it's not anymore. So we have to really redo everything and then change this requirement. This another journal needs a minimum of 35 or 40 with 4,000 words. Whenever you already has prepared a article that following the previous requirement. So asking your opinion, how do you actually handle as a, I mean, your experience as a postgraduate student, not as lecturer. When you prepare article, how do you actually pass it to the supervisor? Do you prepare right according to the journal submission requirement, or you prepare in the just a plain article and only convert it into the whatever requirement after endorsed by your supervisor? That's a tips lah. That's asking for your tips lah. And then one more thing, I have actually few questions. I forgot already.
Okay.
Maybe you can go ahead with that first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question. Puan Sharifah, is it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your question. I understand your pain. Yeah. I think a lot of us who are lecturers, who are students, even professors here, we understand, you know, the kind of pain that you're going through. The formatting takes up like so much time. Yeah. Until like I thought like, you know, PhD student, we are supposed to, you know, put our ideas in, but here is putting our clerkship in. Yeah. So actually that is a part of the training. Okay, to really look at which journal is good, and then maybe certain journals have certain requirements. Yeah, from 60 references, you cut down to 30 references. We've been through all that. Yeah, and I think one of the first things to do is acceptance. Okay, acceptance that it is a part of the PhD journey. Yeah, that we suffer from rejection, and then we have to reformat everything. Yes.
So you recommend for us to send the plain article first without following the requirement first, or what is your
okay, I think okay, in with some you know, journals, you just have to send a plain article. When it comes back, it's actually formatted, right? Okay, with some journals, they need you to follow the formatting you know, to the end, okay, to the iota, before you can actually submit. So I would say depending on your supervisor's requirements, yeah, some supervisor prefer to see the paper as it is formatted before it is sent. Okay, some supervisors, they may actually do a back and forth. You know, they vet the first draft, then you format, they vet the second draft, then you send. Yeah, so I would say maybe, yeah, you can consult with your supervisor as well to see how they prefer it. Okay, for me myself, how to say, I like the in the discussion. Yeah, we have a, you know, preliminary discussion, a preliminary draft, but I do like when it is already you know, after discussion, it is already formatted. Yeah, and it is ready for submission lah. Yeah, but sometimes as students, we also need some guidance. Okay, how to cut down? Yeah, which part we can cut down, which part we can add. Yeah, so all those also may involve your supervisor as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, all right.
Because I never know that all this thing is actually pretty headache. It just, but lucky my supervisor is very supportive and very facilitating. Just one more question, Doctor. Now we have a lot of apps or whatever we call it to assist us in writing, as well as in the editing. Do you actually use it frequently?
How to say? I would say that I hope to say I do, but I don't. Actually, let's say in order to write a systematic review, I think we have to pick up EndNote manually. Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm still in the process of learning. And if you have the chance, I would like to encourage all of us to learn that. But I don't. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. We still have time for any more questions from the floor, if you have any. Perhaps one or two comments, suggestions, questions.
Can I ask some more if there's no other question?
Mr. Sharifah, yeah, please proceed, Sharifah.
All right. Okay, seems like you have a lot of paper ongoing, you know. I probably missed the number, 20 plus, 30 plus at the same time going. How do you handle the data? I mean, any tips from you under a concurrent data from here and there? Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question. Actually, I'm working on concurrent data, a few concurrent data. Yeah. The first thing that I do is to keep a good record of the data. Yeah, I learned from experience. Yeah. So whenever I send something for publication, the data which I used and cleaned for that publication, I will attach together. Yeah, not with the publication. Yeah, with the folder for that publication. Okay, so in that case, in that sense, I can keep track of the data. Yeah, I also have to organize different folders for each data. Unfortunately, sometimes when I deal with, let's say, undergraduate student work, they have graduated, they got work already, you know, and suddenly, you know, they are missing. So I think it is still very important to get hold of the data as well. If we are working with undergraduate papers or even postgraduate papers. So I think there's no shortcut. Just have to keep organized and keep the fingers crossed. Yeah, very important, the data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions from the floor? One. Question two. Question three. Okay, so I don't think that we have any more questions from the floor. So thank you very much, Dr. Sam, for a very inspiring sharing with us. So I'm sure that those participants who join our junior club, it is not only from our pusat, from our center, and I can see that some of them from other center as well, okay, under the same faculty. And we also have a lot of students joining in. So I hope that it can inspire the participants based on this sharing. And I really hope that the participant would also get some benefits from this sharing session. And it's kept our pusat or our ReaCH to continue this tradition of journal club at ReaCH. And we kind of look forward to have more sharing from other members as well. Okay. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sam.
Thank you, Dr. Made. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.